It's 2017, and for the third year running, one of the cars I'm looking forward to driving most is a Honda. And where last year that was the rebirth of a legend in the new NSX, this year, like it was 2 years ago, it's the return of the town hooligan. Say hello to the FK8 generation Honda Civic Type R. If it seems like only 2 years ago since we saw an all-new Honda Civic Type R, that's because it was only 2 years ago that we last saw an all-new Honda Civic Type R, and yet here we are with a new car on a new platform, ready to reclaim any territory it's lost to the competition in the last 24 months. And Honda is not messing around. With a new record at the Nürburgring for front-wheel drive production cars, this thing has serious bragging rights. But possibly more importantly for our American brothers and sisters, this, for the first time ever, is a Civic Type R you can go out and buy in the US of A. It seems odd to us who have had access to the Type R cars for forever, that our American cousins have been missing out, and yet all the freedom in the world couldn't buy you a Civic Type R until now. So, what have our American friends been missing out on, and what can they look forward to? Well, for starters, there's a 2-litre turbocharged VTEC engine good for about 316 horsepower in the Euro spec, 295 foot-pounds of torque, and a 0 to 62 time of 5.8 seconds, all topping out at 169 miles an hour. This year marks the 25th anniversary of Honda Type R cars. That R is for racing, and that's exactly how the first cars were designed, but eventually a broader appreciation for them led to the Type R badge being slapped on more road-focused cars, still always with that performance edge. The first road-going Type R, the NSX Type R, came all the way back in 1992, and it, like the Type Rs after it, have had that red badge and optional white paint as an homage to the RA272, which was the first Japanese car ever to win a Grand Prix all the way back at the Mexican GP in 1965. Fast forward to today and our car still has that red badge. We've gone with it in blue though, because, you know, it matches my eyes. No, wait, hang on. It doesn't. Hang on. Apparently it's too late to change the colour of the car. But there is one thing you just can't get away from, no matter whether it's in blue, red, white, or you wrap it in bubblegum pink, and that's that you could snap any part of this car off and use it as a murder weapon. They tell me it's all functional, that this channels air there and that forces air down here, but frankly, I couldn't care less. When your car's spoiler looks like a batarang, that's freaking cool, whether it's actually sticking you to the road or not. The fact that it actually is creating downforce is a really nice bonus. FK2 generation Civic Type R and the new FK8. Now, the older car was already pretty aggressive, but the new one just adds so much more on top of it. Most notably around the front, where the bonnet has lost that rounded snub nose finish and now feels more like the front end of an angry saloon rather than a hatchback. Plus, it's lower, longer, wider, and stiffer, which aren't just ways to improve a car, they're great ways to improve your love life too. It's remarkable though, in a world where we're complaining about brands like Lamborghini losing their craziness in their designs, each generation of Civic Type R has felt less and less mature and more like it's been designed by a hyperactive 12-year-old using only a ruler and a Sharpie, and in no way is that to be considered a bad thing. The Civic Type R may be a few handfuls of horses short of even the Focus RS, but on the looks front, this thing is off the charts. I don't even care if you like it or not, no one can deny the ferocity on show. For what this thing costs, there is nothing on the market today that looks faster. But looking fast just isn't enough, is it? And considering this thing has been built to eat lap times for breakfast, it only seems right to first take it back to the track and see how it handles out there. And that track is the Lausitz Ring, with some long straights, hard braking points, challenging bends, and plenty of opportunity to see how well this front-wheel drive weapon handles itself on the edge. So I'm finally getting a chance to push this thing out on track, because that's really what this car has been designed to do. Yes, it's going to be sold to people who use it for the shopping or for their daily commute, but still, this has been built to live out on the track. And that's why I'm in the R Plus mode, which includes auto blip on the downshift. That's one of those things for the purist that feels a little bit redundant, because of course your heel and toe is spot on. But you know, for everyone else, it does make those downshifts feel that little bit more exciting. Now, the idea of taking a front-wheel drive car
out onto the track and pushing it as hard as you can still triggers something in the back of my mind that makes me a bit nervous. I mean, understeer is always preferable to oversteer in an emergency situation, but really neither is preferable and neither is present. Whenever there is a hint of it, and only ever a hint, just a slight turn-in increase corrects it. And although the tires start to protest under the most extreme of pushing in a corner, it still grips, it still holds, and it pulls you through, and you can get back on the power straight away to push you up into the next exit. And it's only really on the braking, the most extreme of braking, from the highest speeds right down to a sharp turn-in, where you feel it starting to squirm. Now also, lift-off oversteer has been minimized. Mid-corner lift-off does cause a little bit of squirming, a little bit of rotation, but not nearly what you could have in a front-wheel drive performance car. What's also apparent is that this isn't scary speed. This isn't intimidating ferocity. This is well-calculated, well-thought-out performance. A daily driver with track credentials, all with the power going through the front wheels. It's a hell of a thing.
As fun as track driving is, and it really, really is, even something this capable has to drive well on regular roads to be worth your time. So back out into the real world we go. Now, the FK2 generation Civic Type R was criticized for being maybe just a little bit too much car for the road, too much focused on pursuing those Nürburgring lap times and not enough focused on really how people use these cars. And I think I can say every single one of those points has been addressed in the FK8. There are now 3 driving modes. When you start it up, it's sport. That's the default. It's sharp, it's alert, but there's a notch down from that to comfort. The thing is, that softness and security that you get in the comfort mode, well, a lot of it persists up through the more aggressive driving modes of sport and R+, where really track-focused road cars can be extremely firm and uncomfortable, even in their softest driving modes. The new Civic Type R seems to have gone in the opposite direction. It's comfortable throughout, and that goes from the suspension all the way through to the seats. It feels like a car I could spend some serious time in. And the suspension is softer, we know that, Honda has told us that, but it's there for performance reasons as well. It allows the car to be much more stable under extremely hard braking, and I noticed that at the track, which makes this a better all-rounder. It kind of makes me think though, do I want a car that is super aggressive on the day-to-day? Well, no. Do I still want the car to be extra fast on the track? Yes, but the compromise between those two is that never at any point does this car really, really excite me. And I know that often that excitement comes from the car being unpredictable, or the car doing something I didn't expect, or challenging me, or scaring me. And there's a paradox there, because we want the car to be stable, reliable, while being quick, and that's exactly what this thing is, and then I complain about it because it's not scaring me. I'm the hypocrite in this situation, and I know that, but yet there's just something missing from this experience. One thing that has been remedied in the new Civic Type R that would have given it a really even more aggressive driving style is torque steer. It's very common in high-performance front-wheel drive cars, and you even see it in the Ford Focus RS, but it has been completely eliminated. The front suspension setup cancels it out perfectly, so even in a straight line, at any kind of rev range, it has never pulled me one way or the other. And that helps me forget how powerful this car actually is, because you can gather speed so quickly, so effortlessly, and at no point are those red flags thrown up to you to say there's something happening here that you should be paying attention to. You can just go and go and go, and the car doesn't throw you any curveballs, it doesn't throw you any problems, it just deals with everything you have to give it. Last year on the NSX, its weakest point was the interior, but that was on a car that cost almost £100,000. I can forgive the cheaper switchgear in a car that is this affordable, but some things, some design choices I can't really get on board with. The dials, the main digital dial in the middle is great. The information is bold and clear, and in R+ mode it glows red and it looks fantastic. But either side of it though are these little instrument clusters for the engine temperature and the fuel gauge, and they look kind of like what late 70s impression of what 2017 would look like.
It does give an overall look, it all ties together really well, but all the individual elements leave me a little bit cold.
With our drive time in the Civic Type R coming to an end, there was just enough time to do the one thing you should always try when driving on the German Autobahn: VMAX. When you come to Germany to drive on the Autobahn, it can be filled with as much frustration as elation, trying to find a bit you can actually use when it's not raining, when it's not busy, while it's still daytime, while you have a clear enough stretch. Now we're about to enter another de-restricted bit. Let's see what we can do. 235, 240, 247, come on, coming up to 260, 265, now we need to back off because I'm coming into traffic. 265, not quite VMAXed it. What's that in miles an hour? 164.6, not bad. And it felt incredibly planted. There was no shimmying. Even when I came down on the brakes, nothing dramatic happened. It just got me there. I could have possibly been a bit more efficient up through the gears to get there. And all the time I've been talking to you, I've been doing 120 miles an hour. So those moments of elation are peppered with frustration because there's cars in your way. You can't quite put your foot down and get to the speed you want to go. But man, it feels good when you do it, especially in something as stable as this. So yes, it's lacking some thrill and excitement and danger, but I just did 265 kilometers an hour without killing myself. It would have been easy for Honda to create a car that could break that Nürburgring record, but was horribly compromised everywhere else. It could have been uncomfortable, unrefined, and an absolute pig to drive for anyone without the trained experience of a seasoned racing driver. That's not what this is though. The Honda Civic Type R gets to take home the trophy without you, the end customer, paying the price. This is what having your cake and eating it looks like. And it looks and tastes amazing.